Seeing no other public comments or council comments, we'll move forward to the pilot program discussion. I know that Councilwoman Jackson had some questions with this, and she wanted to drive this conversation herself.
Actually, I've had a lot of developers, quite a few developers, and developments ask questions about the pilot program and how would they go about getting into the pilot program. And for me, I hadn't heard anything about the pilot program in so long, and it was the one time that Jake, former mayor, gave the Pemberton Apartments the pilot program, which did not go through because of COVID. So COVID came in, and funding for that program just was exhausted, and everything was at a standstill. So what I wanted to know now, what are we going to do about the pilot program, and how are we going to initiate this? How are we going to let people, especially people with fair and affordable housing, who really need this to get back on their feet, to make the living conditions for the residents that live and reside in their dwellings or in their developments safe? How would we initiate this to them? Because a lot of people don't know about the pilot program.
Can one of you all, or can you just explain briefly what the pilot program is so that we have a little bit of background? And
Sure.
Great.
Just trying to pull it up.
Yeah, just real quick, April, we've heard from one developer we were talking to, and I dug into it, and we went back and forth, and it essentially is a $1 per unit credit, and there's two different versions of it. It's a new construction and a rehab version of it, but that's essentially it. I think it's $400 per unit, something like that. In some instances, it essentially wipes out the city portion of the tax, which is one of the things that I'd like to modify. I agree with giving them an incentive because I think should be incented. But my hope was we could limit it to 50% of the original, tax that would be paid normally as an effort to help them with a subsidy, because it really is a developer subsidy. It's not really necessarily passed along to the tenant, and I think it's contingent upon them making improvements in the property. So for them to get it, they've got to make the improvements, per your concern, So new construction would be new construction. Of course, rehab would be rehab, and the rehab would predicate that they would be renovating the property anyway. So definitely want to incentivize that, both versions. I just think from a perspective of they're going to use fire and police. And so I was trying to limit the actual credit up to 50% of the face amount of the original taxes.
And what did you say, was that 15?
50%, yeah. So if their normal tax bill was, say, $15,000, that we would give them half of that, if they fulfill their obligation. That's the only modification I saw, because in some instances, the one developer I think was somewhere around $50,000 or $60,000, which again is spread over several hundred units. So on an individual unit basis, it's immaterial, but to the impact of the city, it's pretty significant.
I also wanted to know.
can we have Andy explain that just so we can get a basis, and then we can have further discussion.
Okay.
Just so people that are, if you don't mind, just briefly explaining what the pilot program is, and then just what the historical context of it is.
Sure. Yep.
So back under Mayor Day's term, when we did the Whole Here's Home package, we had several ordinances that came out of that around housing. One was the affordable component of that, and that was Ordinance 2693, essentially creating a template form pilot program that was $400 per unit for new or significant redevelopment of affordable housing. There's some other caveats in there and requirements to qualify. But essentially, since then, we have a blueprint, a path forward, so we don't have to do one-off pilots. It's, if you'd like to do that, you would apply for us, enter into an agreement, and once the rehab has been done or the new construction has been completed, we would enter into that agreement, and on your upcoming tax assessment, you would receive that credit. Right now, again, it's $400 per unit. We have from Homes for America, they are interested in doing 4 different projects. Homes at Gateway Village, Village at Mitchell Pond, James Leonard Apartments, and Homes at Foxfield. All 4 of those projects, there's been interest either immediately or in the near future for some pilot incentives. So it is working. There's some interest, and we are working with the representatives from Homes for America to move forward on those agreements. Now, as the mayor mentioned, one of the conversations in its initial inception was the $400 credit. We think that's an okay amount. And the question is there a reduction or a cap on how much credit you get for an entire project? For an example, if you had a project that we were collecting $60,000 a year right now in tax revenue, and you had 150 units, that would be wiped out completely to zero. So then that money that we were collecting would be, that $60,000 would all be credit now, so it would go to zero. So the question is should we have a maximum capacity? And that's something that we're going to talk at a future meeting. If we want to modify the ordinance or the legislation, that would cap that amount of credit. That's for conversation. But again, high level, there are people who are interested in moving forward. The program exists. We have a template form agreement that exists. So we're ready to start engaging with some people who want the credit. I'm going to pause there for.
I know everyone has it. So let's. Okay, great.
Thank you. Okay, so I want to for the Mitchell Landing project. Is that still going through for subsidy housing? I think they withdrew the pilot application piece of that. Is that correct? But is that project still going through as affordable
Yeah,
housing?
that not being on this list, Village at Mitchell Pond is the one I was referencing, slightly different term, so I'm not sure about the Mitchell Landing. I know that we have not, there's not an agreement right now to do that. We have not settled on a transaction on that property to date. But
Yeah, got nothing. Yeah.
Okay.
They're just so there are, which I was going to mention. So with pilots, so again, this is a state-led initiative that will. So whatever number, I would make sure that, and I can send you the details on that. Make sure it aligns with what the state suggests, and then look at neighboring states and municipalities what they offer, because it's very competitive. But I do know, just to the point you were alluding to, that certain nonprofits have agreements. So if there's a nonprofit or an entity such as that, then there's already payment in lieu of taxes that will stand from that. So
Yeah, nonprofits don't pay taxes already. Yeah, so, okay.
exactly. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
My question as well would be, what is the procedure?
yeah,
You raise an excellent point. So
Yes,
that's
what
I
is
kinda
the
was asking.
procedure for this? Because people need to know, and like I said, I have a lot of people, a lot of developers, a lot of corporations who have come to me and asked me about this, and I want it to be knowledgeable for our citizens to know as well, because they do have a right to know what this program initiates and how it is based and what it has for the people, because when people don't know and they don't have knowledge of stuff, they tend to think either negative. Most of the time it's negative. So that's why I'm bringing a lot of these things up, because I think we need to know, and the people, our constituents, our citizens need to know. So, and then the developers, I've had developers like say they've contacted certain people and have not gotten responses back from them. And so then I want to know, what is the procedure to do this?
Yeah, to your point, we have an ordinance that says that this is the credit, but the question becomes, on new construction, it's easier, but on the rehab, it's like, what percentage of the rehab has to be completed, and what's the arrangement? So to your point, the ordinance got developed in 2021, but the mechanism with which to earn it becomes unclear. So I think it probably needs to be evaluated on a one-off basis, like, we're building these units in such a location, and here's going to be our program of rent, whether it's 60% of median or whatever. So to your point, yeah, I agree, and that was sort of what confused me from the beginning, and so we were struggling a little bit at the beginning. Actually, nobody's ever applied for it, apparently, other than Pemberton, and that didn't go through, so, yeah.
Well, it did go through. I think it did go
did it?
through, but it was just that when it did go through, it was some master changes, and COVID came in and
Okay. You mean the pro-
dissipated.
Yeah. So simplest, we need an application that is easy for someone to get. They
Yes.
can submit, I'd like to submit this project with this amount of stuff to
Yes.
start the ball rolling. We have a form-based agreement that we can do. It is a little bit of cart before the horse here, where all we need to do is we need to have an application literally to gauge interest. If there's anybody that really needs to talk to somebody, having them connect with me, April, directly
Okay.
as we get this application built out. We're just, now that we have the agreement, we're just wanting to make sure on the application, we're gathering the right information to make sure people who qualify, et cetera. So we're putting that together actively.
Thank you.
But thanks for making us move faster.
That's right. Councilwoman DeShiel.
You did answer my question. I was going to ask you, I realize there's an ordinance in place, 2693, and then you have the agreement that Andy, you just referred to. So this hasn't actually been applied to anything yet, but now you have 4 projects that are interested. So this will be kind of on a rolling out effort, correct, with the pilot?
ceremony, so to speak, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're ready to get going. And, there's some delays. We've had some transition, but I think we're ready to go and get this credit moving. Having met with one of the developers on their projects, he already gave real examples of how the credit will be implemented and reinvested right into the properties. So, this is great that we have this on the table.
Good. Great. Thank you. Seeing no-
Andy, what were the 4, I'm sorry, what were the 4 places? I know one was Village at Mitchell Pond Gateway.
Yeah, and this is within the upcoming future. I'm not saying everything tomorrow, but homes at Gateway Village, Village at Mitchell Pond, James Leonard Apartments, and homes at Foxfield.
We do have one public comment. Robert Taylor.
Yeah, I came down to hear the discussion and also just make a couple of comments. I've been involved in some pilots here in the area. I think it was property outside the city and the county because my dealings were with the, is this not on or what? Okay. Dealings were with Edgar Baker. He was the county attorney then. We did pilots, a little different in structure from what was just been mentioning, a little simpler. I'll be glad to try to look those up. It's been probably 20 years. I probably have to go to the courthouse to find the stuff. But anyway, my broader point is that, we've got a fiscal problem here. And all of these things, pilots, TIFs, the Horizon program, Here is Home, they all result in reduced city revenue. And we haven't even seen our budget for next year or our CIP. When I say we, I mean the citizens. You all may have, I don't know. But I want to point out to you, on 2 pages of our current financial statement that we got for last year, 85 and 86, there is a very good summary of our revenue, different sources of revenue, and our expenditures, different types. I'd print it out and give it to you, but the only thing that I've got right now says draft on it. The financial statement that was turned in a month or so ago still isn't on the website. I don't know why. But, let's get from the auditor the final financial statement without draft on it and post it. But take a look at it, because in the last 4 years, up until last year, not this year, our property tax revenue only went up by about a little more than $4 million. That's about $1.2 million a year. Our local income tax revenue, that went up by about $800,000. The reason we don't get more there is because 80% of our piggyback tax that we pay as city residents goes to the county. City only gets 17%, I think it is. So that's a much lower source of revenue for the city than it is for the county. But I think we need to look at all of this stuff before we start doing more giveaways from TIFs and even pilots. I'm not against a pilot per se if it helps for affordable housing, but we've got to be daggone careful about how much we're giving away, because we ain't getting that much more in. And our expenditures are going up. And you heard what Wes Moore said about the state, what they're going to be like for the next couple or 3 years. It's not going to be any different here. So, I mean, let's be reasonable and not rush. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other comments, we'll move forward. It looks like we have an update on Carroll Street and Eastern Shore Drive. Do you have any update to give on that, Mr. Kitzrow?
Mr. Kittredge here today.
We'll put you in the hot seat and put you here.
No, so kind of as another preview, and I hate to keep kind of pushing it down the road, but Carroll Street redevelopment is directly attached to the Safe Streets for All large federal grant that we received, all in with local spend, about $14 million. Allocating our local resources as well as leveraging state grants and those federal dollars for three-pronged projects. Carroll Street, safety improvements, mostly bike infrastructure and crosswalks, and then some sidewalk infill, so three major buckets, and then some design on top of that. We've had some transition in DID, as you guys all know, and as we are looking at that grant and looking at funding, echoing some of those points, we only have so many dollars. We need to be smart about our investment in what we want to do. So we are internally looking at not only Carroll Street, but all of that entire grant, and over the next couple of weeks, kind of whiteboarding to make sure we know exactly what we want to do, what's on the table, where we want to invest. Another roundtable discussion to have one of you, if you're available, to come attend. But our new transportation manager, who's here, John, and a couple of our people from DID, and then our team are going to look at all of this stuff. So not saying I don't have a good, strong update, but before we do any more changing to Carroll Street, we just want to make sure we know exactly what we're doing. But again, it's going to be tied to those other two projects too from a funding standpoint. So I'm hoping at the next work session, at the latest, the June 3rd, when we can really talk about the Safe Streets for All grant in general, in generalities, but which would include Carroll Street's movement. Even talking about, to wrap all this stuff together, as we talk about our parking discussion and our downtown development, also understanding the impacts on what we do on Carroll Street and how people leaving the island of downtown, navigating around it to get to the west side of town or go north and south on 13 and 50, all of that plays into it. So that's part of the conversation as we look at what we want to do with Carroll Street. But we are eager to move forward on all fronts, but invest wisely.
Good.
Anything you want to add?
Any questions?
I was just going to say, on Carroll Street, there's been a lot of pushback from the community on that whole project that's been going on for months, if not longer. In fact, when we were at the Wizard of Oz the other night, and Angela was sitting in front of me, the lady sitting next to me launched into a big conversation about Carroll Street. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of, so we got to be contemplative, and we're thinking about how to move forward. As it relates to Eastern Shore Drive, which I don't know if you commented or not, there's no funding at this juncture, and there's no plan to do anything there. So our next step is to look aerially at Carroll Street, see what we can do to make modifications to make it seem and appear, more friendly and conducive to the citizens' expectations.
Good.
So.
Great. Councilwoman DeShiel?
Mr. Kitzrow, I would like to volunteer to be on that committee, since there are quite a few of those streets that have been changed that either border my district and I get a lot of comments. So I'm volunteering.
All right, so you're chair. Got it.
Yes.
You might not want that.
Great. Councilwoman Jackson?
I'm all for revitalization. I'm all for making Salisbury beautiful. But can we please clean up the mess that we've already made? I'm going to tell you, I go around on Fitzwater Street. I'm almost afraid to go around the corner. I've hit that curve 2 or 3 times because it's not enough room. And there's other places that I've gone that are the same way. I mean, even on down by where Von Siggers lives, our former council person, it's an obstruction to her because she has to park in a business parking lot. And that's absurd. It shouldn't be like that. It really should not be like that. we should be able to go up the streets. Now, I realize urban planning and all that kind of stuff and revitalization has to take place at some point, but not when you're putting persons, to me, in danger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's a black mark on one of those curves up by the shipyard that I think I've hit like 2 or 3 times, and thank God I didn't have my BMW because I would have blown my tires numerous of times. But it's just dangerous because when you go around that corner and somebody else is coming, if they're over the line too much, you're going into that curve. And it's not safe because we have kids in that area.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Jackson, I think the speed limit's only
Yes.
30 there?
Yes.
So I just need to slow down.
Yes.
Yeah, slow it down.
I'm going 30 or 35.
Slow it down, slow it down.
So-
No, but I mean,
But
it's really, we have children, it's a park there.
Yeah.
So I want it to be safe for our children, and not only for our children, but we even have the guys in the shipyard that they're like playing hopscotch trying to get across the street to their vehicles.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be like that. So could we clean up what's been messed up, and then we can concentrate on Carroll Street and Eastern Shore Drive?
You know,
Go ahead.
I just want to make sure we have a lot of
I
items
know.
on the agenda, and so I think what this administrator said is, again, this is on their list, but they're trying to, which is the tone that they're making sure that they are strategically doing things. So there are a list of concerns that the city has, and we're trying to map it out so we're using funds responsibly, and just so again, I know that Councilwoman Jackson, you've mentioned that before, and other residents, that Fitzwater Street does have some design concerns, and we've heard that, and I believe we discussed it a couple meetings back, so we know that's on the list, and we're just.
Well, I'm going to
we'll be pa-
repeat it until it gets done.
We'll be patient in that request, and we know that it's on the list. So, any other council comments?
I was just going to say, I actually burst my tire on Fitzwater Street in the city car, and it's pretty well documented. I'm a pretty bad driver, however, but I did do that. It was kind of embarrassing.
Yes.
So, we'll get the budget amendment for the.
So Mayor's just taking the keys away.
These two.
Solve this quickly.
Oh, I can drive. I'm a driver, not a driver.
Great.
You know.
Seeing no other public comments and other council comments, we'll move forward to the West Road annexation with Deputy City Administrator John Toll. And you got to top that. You got to be as exciting as that last conversation was.
Well, we'll see if Amanda can be that excited. So we're here to talk about a annexation, and I'm going to turn this over to Amanda.
Amanda, welcome.
Yes, thank you. So this is for 900, 902, and 904 West Road. It's 3 parcels that will be all re-subdivided together for a total of 0.8 acres. It's rectangular in shape. It's adjoining existing city boundaries along West Road. The properties requesting annexation right now are currently unimproved. The developer intends to construct a 12 apartment unit complex for this property. So if there's any other questions, you guys have had all of the annexation plan to review, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Repeat those numbers again. I heard 900, 902.
And 904 West Road.
Okay.
I didn't have any questions. Again, it's pretty detailed as to the plans that the developer has in our packet. So thank you for providing that. Councilwoman DeShield?
Do any of these apartments affordable? Considered affordable apartments, do you know?
I do not know at this time if they will be that.
Probably not.
Given the amount of units there, I imagine they may be, only because they're only seeking 12 units for a total. It's just one building,
Right.
3 stories, 4 on each floor.
3-story, okay, all right. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Great. And seeing no public comments, council, do you have consensus to move this forward?
Yes.
Yes? Great. Thank you all so much.
You're welcome.
Yes. And we'll move on to you for a budget amendment to accept CBT funds.
All right, so in front of you is an ordinance for a budget ordinance for funds donated from the Chesapeake Bay Trust. And we have Dylan here that can give you the specifics about the grant.
Dylan, hello. Good.
Council, Mayor, thank you very much for having me today. Yes, we are here to amend, as you put it, accept funds from CBT for a mini grant. This was for the restoration of our edible community garden. This is essentially a partnership between ourselves and Wacomico Public Library. They are hosting workshops. I believe they're hosting one right now. To educate the youth in our city about urban agriculture, about gardening, about all different things regarding that topic. Recently, within the past year, there was some vandalism at the property. The shed was destroyed and seemingly the tools were lost with it. The plants were ripped up or severely damaged. The sign was severely damaged, among other things. So we needed to find the funds to restore it. We did not have appropriate funds in any other account beyond the green team, which was being prioritized for other outreach activities, and so we sought funds from CBT. I have the grant agreement here if you would like to ask any questions about exactly what the scope is, the budgetary changes in the process for that. But simply we're accepting $1,272 for the purpose of restoring our community garden.
Good. Which community garden is this?
The edible community garden, which is along the Riverwalk, right behind Gillis Gilkerson's new building.
Ah,
Yes.
yes, okay. Yeah, I do. I did see that. I take a walk through there, and I saw that it was good. That's going to be it's gonna be really good. How soon after we receive the funds will you all get to work on this garden?
So the performance period is until June 1st,
Okay.
And we have effectively acquired most of what we need. A few things are yet to be procured, but I believe that we will get that done by June 1st.
Cool, good. Well, if you need some help, I know we'll have some volunteers from council go out there and help you.
Yeah, we would love that. Yeah.
I just told you all. Yeah, no. Did you have a question or comment? Good. Okay. Yes, yes. Seeing no other comments and public comment, council, do we have consensus to move this forward? Yes, great. Thank you, and thank you all for either seeking it or actually bring this to us. So we love to see money come in, and especially for a good cause. So thank you for that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yes. And then you'll round us out for an MDOT funds acceptance.
Yes, so what you have in front of you is a budget ordinance requesting the approval to accept funds from the Governor Highway Safety Association Youth Active Transportation Safety Grant in the amount of $25,000. And our new transportation manager, John, is here to answer any specific questions that you have about that program.
Yes.
Or give you an overview.
Congratulations.
Thank you, much appreciated.
Yeah. Yes, could you just give us I know we all saw it in our package, just give us a overview. I mean, $25,000 is a great amount to, for this program. Just give us a brief overview of what this project is.
Well, pretty much we are partnering with Salisbury State University, and they're going to be supplying us with students that will be able to go out and do outreach at the local schools. They will be teaching bike safety and how to maintain and how to maintenance their bikes.
Okay.
They will show kids on how to navigate around the bike system safely.
Okay.
And pretty much what would be
If you, the closer you stay, you got to kind of lean away a little bit for it to pick up your voice.
and pretty much throughout the summer and the fall, the high school, the college students will be teaching the students, and we will be having demonstrations and programs throughout the summer and the fall. And when the students go back to school, we will have bike programs on how to get from point A to point B safely. And yeah, appreciate it.
Good. Two points and one question. I do want to know what a walking school bus is. I saw that and I was like, what is a walking school bus?
Well, pretty much It will be chaperoned by 1 or 2 adults, and pretty much we will be with the students going around the area to show them how to get from the bus stop to the school. So pretty much it's a chaperone route. Yeah, chaperone route to school.
Good. Well, let me know when that is. When I was in 4th grade, I believe at North Salisbury, they did a program like this. They came and taught bike safety, and I am proud to say, out of all the 4th graders, I was the winner, and I won a bike and a helmet. I was elated. So this program, I love these kind of programs. So, but
Yeah,
I don't.
I already spoke with the principal at Prince Street, and he is enthused about the whole program because a majority of his students in that area are all walkers.
Yes.
So that's a good point to start for us.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Awesome.
I was just saying, herding cats is what your group is you're talking about. Is there a plan for the future, once this is put in place, and they have used this grant money, is there some type of partnership with the school system? I know you mentioned, Mr. Miller at Prince Street, the principal. Is there some plan put in place to make this an ongoing project that each of the schools could adopt?
That's the ultimate goal. That's why we are working with the students from SU, so they can work with the other students. So pretty much it can be
Sustaining.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Good.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions from council? No? All right, seeing no other questions and no public comments, do we have consensus to move this forward?
Yes.
Great. Fantastic. We look forward to what. Make sure you share some pictures or share the dates with us so we know when these programs are taking place at the schools, if you can.
Almost definitely. I have to do social media, so that's what
I saw that in there. Yeah, there's some mandated. Good.
So pretty much I'll be blasting it out. So
Perfect. Of course. Thank you all so much. Thank you. We'll move forward to the administration and council comments. We'll start with with administration. I know your mic is warm today, so
Hot mic over here. No, just a couple things. We are in full event mode. April was busy. May is even busier. But we're excited to showcase Unity Square that has come online. If you've not seen it at night, it is gorgeous.
It is.
That will continue to be used. We have an upcoming ribbon cutting that we'll be doing on the same day as our upcoming third Friday on May 17th. Yep,
so,
thank
yeah.
you. And then we have an open house business after hours with the chamber this Thursday
Yes.
at the headquarters building. So we invite everybody to come out to that. I got a text message from our comms director that the budget has been posted online. I'm not confirmed, so that should be live now for those people that we said we were going to get it to them today. I think it is live now.
It's still today, so thank you. Mayor?
Yeah, just want a special shout out. This weekend I had a chance, and so did Angela, to see the Eastern Shore Ballet perform Wizard of Oz, and it was phenomenal. I mean, it really was. I'm not a ballet guy. You could probably well imagine.
You don't have a.
You could probably well imagine.
You don't.
But it was amazing. The quality of dance and the quality of everything was really. I'm not a big expressive dancer,
Okay.
but. Anyway, I might do something in the business after hours. We'll see.
Well, you have that in the
interpretive dance. I'm sorry.
well, the Wizard of Oz. I think he likes the dance.
Oh, you mean the
We represent.
Lollipop dance?
Lollipop dance.
They didn't have that part.
They didn't.
Come on.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, I have that footage.
Yes,
If anybody
good,
would
yes,
like
yes.
that, I do have that footage.
Well, good. Well, thank you for.
And also had the chance to do the Day of Remembrance at the synagogue yesterday, which was wonderful. A lot of people attended. It was a lot of good words. So then the last thing next Wednesday the 15th is Meet the Mayor, second one we're going to have. So come on out and give me a hard time. So, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll start with Councilwoman DeShiel.
Okay. Shout outs. This is what it's really it's wonderful. The flag football that Sergeant Hitty did at the Wycomico Stadium. What fascinated me is I met one of the coaches, and his name was Coach Bailey, and he was in 9th grade.
Wow.
Oh yeah, he was wonderful. But they had 128 children, and they were all excited, and they even had a blow up tunnel that they all ran through. So it was fun, and you had SU participating, and I believe it's going on for 6 more weeks. So if you have a chance, go out. It's wonderful. Rachel has started.
Special shout out. I didn't mean to cut you off, but special shout out to the coordinator. I know Sergeant Hitty, but also Miss Lindsay, I believe. Yes, and
right.
so she works over at the police department.
Lilia.
Yes, Leilani. So special shout out to her,
yes.
and so she works really good. This is a really good program. So
Right.
yeah.
That's with Under Armour, so they worked hard on that. Rachel Manning has started the neighborhood walks, and Michelle was on one. Randy, we did that one, and there will be 2 more coming up. She's put the dates out. I'm excited because of all the time I spent at Prince Street School. Chief Mindshine has assigned one of his officers to work over there and create a partnership in the neighborhood. So that is just one of his goals, to keep pushing forward to become, very obvious in the neighborhoods and user-friendly. The other thing that was really interesting that we attended, and I had to stand next to Councilwoman Jackson because she is such an amazing singer, and when we went to the prayer breakfast at the Civic Center, and Deshawn, and Randy, we were there, and I tried not to sing next to her. And lastly, just kind of an update on what our delegate, Sample Hughes, she was sharing the other night when she had a town hall meeting, that they have passed over 800 bills in this last session of about the 2,000. And there were some that really, she made it very clear that we have to really, gosh, I'm not sure how we do it, but we have to be very involved because the Eastern Shore is not a top priority once you cross the bridge. They have in place broadband, hopefully for everyone by 25, 26, 96% of the state will have access to broadband. And she brought with her Secretary Wood and also Dr. Cooley, who discussed the veteran affairs or the problems with the vets not getting what they need in a timely manner. In addition to the higher education piece, there are a lot of scholarships out there, and if you try to pursue those, they are available. The money for local, and Corey will love this, for parks and wastewater. The trauma fund, which I think is very interesting, they are really focusing on having money for trauma at Tidal Health, and they are suggesting that $23 will be added to your car registration to help fund this, so that it would be most helpful. 988 is a hotline for suicide, which any of you that have watched the news, you know that the suicide rate is not good. It's going up. So there were just lots of things. Juvenile justice, another big thing for Sheriff Lewis and Jamie Dykes. So there were a lot of things that she had to share with us. So those town halls, when she holds them, she had one in Cambridge, one in Mardella, and then one in Salisbury. And she has topics for each. So be on the lookout for those in the future.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Gregory?
Well, I just want to remind everybody that while it may not seem important at a local level, there is early voting going on right now through Thursday, and then the end of the primary election day is on the 14th. So I just want to remind folks, get out and vote. It is important, even though it isn't a lot that you're voting on, physically voting on, it's incredibly important that we get out and make our voices heard. Just as Councilwoman DeShiel said, the Eastern Shore needs to be taken more seriously, both at the state and the federal level, and I think that we can do that by showing up at the ballot box. I was able to volunteer out this weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, greeting voters at the polls, and unfortunately, there was a tournament for wrestling, which is great for the kids, but it also crowded the parking lot. So if you weren't able to get out and vote, just remember there are 2 locations. You can find them on the not just the Civic Center, but the First Baptist Church, which I don't have the address right in front of me, but Booth and Delaware Avenue. So there are 2 early voting locations. If you ever go to one and one looks like it's packed, or there's an event going on at one, you could probably go to the other one and be able to vote. Just want to remind folks that the monthly poetry series at Unity Square is happening on the 9th as well. So hope to see you guys out there. And that is it for me.
Great. Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Jackson?
Waterside, the NAACP, Wycomico County NAACP, they're looking for waterside park keepers. You work 4 hours a week, $15 an hour. You must be 14 years of age, and we're looking for 4 youth to help. This is sponsored, as I said, by the NAACP, and I'll give you some information, and I think this is very imperative to the community coming together and having our youth invest in our parks and playgrounds. I think if there's an investment, when children and even adults invest in something, they take better care of it. They care more for it than they would if somebody just normally gives them something and they don't put their hands in it. So I will give you the email that you can contact. The young man's name is Mike Angelot, and the email is envnAACP@gmail.com. His phone number is 443-415-5642. When you call him, contact him in any way, let him know that April Jackson is the one that sent you to him, so we can get this on the move. I really was touched when he called me in reference to this, because we do need to have our children invest in their communities. And because, like I said, I did a mural at the Billie Jean Jackson Park, and I had the children, and those handprints that are on that mural are the children's handprints. They're not something that somebody just sketched out of a stencil. Those young people, and now they are grown, put their hands on that mural and made that mural come alive. That mural was called the Community of Helping Hands. And believe me, it was just last year that somebody graffitied that mural, but the county made sure that it was taken care of. So when we invest in something, make sure we let the young people invest in it as well. And when we do, we'll see a change in the community. So this is all I have to say right now, and thank everybody for coming.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank everybody for coming.
Council Vice President?
It's hot here.
Well, by the time it gets to me, so much has been discussed.
We'll start off with you next time, then we'll get you.
Yeah, there's so much. Yeah, there's so much going on. But I did want to point out a few things. You can get a monthly newsletter emailed to you from Rachel Manning. She is the coordinator of, I guess, city's community relations. Correct? Is that correct? Community relations manager. Anyway, in this, she actually won an award through PACE at Salisbury University for community relations. So that was, I just wanted to highlight that we do reach out to other partners and do many things together. The fire department I always have to say something about the fire department. Dave Fippen, our SWIFT coordinator, he was awarded Wycomico County 2023 Outstanding Public Health Leader. So that is awesome. The SWIFT program is awesome. And I didn't even know this, but this was awarded some time ago. But this program is amazing, and I can't wait till we get an update on that and see what they do and see how much money it saves the city. Being mindful again with the youth, we do have at Truett Street, the Truett Street Gym, on every Saturday evening from 5 to 8. They have an open gym. So please, check that out. Everyone's like, well, what is there for the youth to do? There it is. Every Saturday evening from 5 to 8, you have open gym. So that's amazing. But there's so many other things going on at the zoo. You were at a tree planting thing. I was at the ballet. I mean, it was just too much. But great at the same time. And of course, if you are healthy enough and fortunate to have good health, please consider donating blood and plasma and be an organ donor and all of those good things. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, as you all hear, there are many events going on in the city. I love when it gets warmer. Everyone's outside, so it's definitely a good time. I had the pleasure, like Councilwoman Jackson stated, to go over to the Church Street Community Center on Saturday morning, and with the Youth Environmental Action Summit youth. Helped them out with their tree planting event, and so they're so good. I planned to get out there about 10:30. I got there and they started at 9. They were already done with all the trees. So I had my boots on, I had my gear and everything, and I was like, what can I do? But we definitely helped out. But it was great, and I love to see young people giving back to the community. Like Councilwoman Jackson stated, it helps out with it's definitely cyclical. So it's always great to see our youth giving back, and there were such wonderful young adults here. So that was great. And then I had a chance to go over to the Oceans Brunch afterwards. That's led by Micaiah Purnell, and gave them a proclamation. So we marked May 4th as Supporting Black Women's Health Day. So again, that's a wonderful brunch, wonderful event that goes on, and so I was honored to proclaim that day as Supporting Black Women's Health Day. And that is all I have. It sounds like Councilwoman Jackson has. Okay.
The mayor and I today were at a celebration and an honorary street naming event for Freddie L. Mitchell, who was a director of Shore for 56 years, 57 years, 55 years, whatever. However, it was 50 more than I probably could have dealt with it, but he did. And it's amazing because he was a great man. He's done a lot of great things in the city, in the county, on the Eastern Shore. So I commend him. Thank you, Mayor, for being present.
Yeah.
It was a gracious event. His family came, and most of the people from the Board of Directors, Shore Board of Directors, and from Shore Up, and from the community. So, Freddie Mitchell, thank you so much for all you've done for the Eastern Shore. God bless you.
Thank you for that. All right. And with that, this work session is now adjourned, and I'll now call the special meeting to order. Could I have a motion and a second to approve the special meeting agenda?
So move.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of the special meeting agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Could I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2865 for second reading?
So moved.
Great. City Attorney Heather Conyer, good afternoon. Good evening, rather.
Yes, good evening, everyone. All right, let me just turn. We're at ordinance number 2865. This is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury authorizing the mayor to appropriate funds for various capital projects. This is before you for second reader. There are no additions or amendments from the first reading.
All those in favor of ordinance number 2865 for second reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Seeing none opposed, the chair votes aye. Could I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2864 for first reading?
Second.
Ordinance number 2864. An ordinance of the Council of the City of Salisbury to authorize and empower the city to sell and issue from time to time, upon its full faith and credit, one or more series of 1A general obligation bonds and B general obligation bond anticipation notes, each in an original aggregate principal amount not to exceed $13,212,743, and 2 general obligation refunding bonds, subject to the limitations provided for herein, the proceeds of the sale thereof to be used and applied for the public purpose of financing, reimbursing, or refinancing the costs of the public purpose projects identified herein as Station Number 16 HVAC replacement, downtown streetscaping, town square, rail trail master plan implementation, apparatus replacement, Rescue 16, Johnson Pond Dam improvements, Beagland Park Dam improvements, GOB exterior waterproofing, zoo facility improvements, North Prong Park land acquisition, streetlight additions and replacement, Amphitheater Pedestrian Bridge, Restore Park Well Field, Restore Paleo Well Field, Wastewater Treatment Plant Electric Upgrades, Park Well Field Raw Water Main and Valve Replacement, Glen Avenue Lift Station, Wastewater Treatment Outfall Inspection and Repairs, Southside Pump Station Force Main, Park Well Field, Park Well 2, Solid Waste Disposition and Cost of Issuance, specifying the maximum original aggregate principal bond amount of the bonds or bond anticipation notes provided for herein to be allocated to each such project, subject to reallocation by the city in accordance with applicable budgetary procedures or law, providing that the council by resolution shall determine, approve, or provide for various matters relating to the authorization, sale, security, issuance, delivery, payment, and prepayment or redemption of and for each series of the bonds, the bond anticipation notes and the refunding bonds, each a series of the obligations or the obligations, providing for the imposition of ad valorem taxes sufficient for and pledging the full faith and credit and unlimited taxing power of the city to the payment of debt service on each series of the obligations, providing that debt service on each series of the obligations also may be paid from any other sources of revenue lawfully available to the city for such purpose, providing that certain actions may be taken or provided for by resolution in connection with the reissuance or modification of any of the obligations, providing that any of the obligations may be consolidated with other obligations of the city and issued as a single series of bonds, bond anticipation notes, and/or refunding bonds, authorizing, directing, and empowering officials and employees of the city to take certain actions in connection with the obligations, authorizing modifications of the obligations to be made by resolution unless another action is required, providing that this title shall be deemed a statement of the substance of this ordinance for all purposes, providing that the provisions of this ordinance shall be liberally construed, and otherwise generally relating to the sale, issuance, and delivering and payment of and for the obligations. There is a detailed summary of this resolution available in your packet.
Great, thank you. And just to deviate off script for just a moment, Mr. Kitzrow, could you just answer? I know we had an email and I saw some buzz online, and one line from the email just states, it appears that most of the bond funding for the water and sewer projects would not have been necessary had it not been for the Here's Home housing incentives and the Horizon tax and fee waivers. Could you just speak to that? I know that these concerns have been, they're much larger than that scope. Could you briefly?
Sure. Can you just say that one more time? I want to make sure I hit it.
It appears that most of the bond funding for the water and sewer projects would not have been necessary had it not been for Here's Home housing incentives and the Horizon tax and fee waivers.
Sure. Just as a point of clarification, any water and sewer projects come out of a water and sewer enterprise account. Funding incentives that would have been received from Here's Home or the housing or real estate property tax or building permit fee waivers, what's come out of the general fund, a little bit of apples and oranges. We fund our water and sewer projects through an enterprise fund that is independent of any of those specific fees on a large scale. Just some clarification on that. And again, these projects would have had to happen regardless of any new development. There's only one project that is taking advantage of the Horizon program, and the Here's Home. We're still far into the development of those that are still coming in. So all these projects would have had to happen regardless of any of those.
Great. Thank you for explaining that. All right, so all those in favor of ordinance number 2864 for first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the chair votes aye. Could I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2866 for first reading?
Ordinance number 2866, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury authorizing the mayor to sign a grant agreement and accept grant funds in the total sum of $25,000 from the Governor Highway Safety Association to continue the partnership of the City of Salisbury with Salisbury University to train and equip youth ambassadors in the Salisbury area. Whereas the Maryland Department of Transportation has received a grant from the Governor Highway Safety Association, providing grant funds to support and execute Youth Active Transportation Safety Grant outreach to youth training sessions for guided bike buses and other youth programs with proven track records improving bicycle and pedestrian transportation in the state. And whereas Maryland Department of Transportation, the City of Salisbury, and Salisbury University have been working together to improve bicycle connectivity through the City of Salisbury. And whereas the City of Salisbury desires to develop, implement, and evaluate a student transportation safety program that teaches safe walking, biking, scooting, and all other micro-mobility. And whereas the funds will be used to enhance bicycle safety, understanding of facility usage, and access to the population of the City of Salisbury. And whereas the Governor Highway Safety Association has awarded a grant in the total amount of $25,000 to provide development, implementation, and the evaluation of a student transportation safety program. And whereas Section 7-29 of the Salisbury City Charter prohibits the city from entering into a contract that requires an expenditure not appropriated or authorized by the Council of the City of Salisbury. And whereas the appropriations necessary to execute the purpose of this grant must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and the approval of 4/5 of the council of the City of Salisbury. And whereas the grant funds will be paid as reimbursements and the city will transfer those funds from the MDOT reimbursement account to the Youth Active Transportation Safety account. Now therefore be it enacted and ordained by the Council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland as follows. Section 1, Mayor Randolph J. Taylor is hereby authorized to enter into a grant agreement with the Governor Highway Safety Association on behalf of the City of Salisbury for the city's acceptance of grant funds in the amount of $25,000. Be it further enacted and ordained by the Council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland as follows. Section 2, the city's grant fund budget be amended as follows. 1, increase the Governor Highway Safety Association revenue account by $25,000, and 2, increase the operating expense account by $25,000.
All those in favor of ordinance number 2866 for first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the chair votes aye. This special meeting is now adjourned. I'll call for a motion and a second to convene in closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom.
No.
Okay, over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals as authorized by the State Government Article 3-305B1. The topic of discussion will be the selection of Director of Department of Infrastructure and Development. All those in favor of convening in closed session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the chair votes aye.